Let me say a special good morning to our listeners and viewers. Welcome to The Point for here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. It's Tuesday, the 14th day of November 2023. Good morning, I'm your host, GT. I'll be around with you for the next hour, let's say around 55 minutes or so. We lost a little 5 minutes, so getting things prepared. Good morning once again. Hope all is well with everyone this morning and everyone is having a good morning. It started off a great morning for me also, and I hope to keep that particular momentum rolling through for the entire day. Good morning to those of you who are listening and viewing over in the diaspora, especially via our social media platforms, whether it's the Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning and welcome. Certainly nice to have you with me this morning. Usually, on Tuesday here on To The Point, we do host the opposition, and they asked for a slight twist in their programming format today, which means there'll be no actual in-studio representative this morning, but they asked that we do a tribute to former of course, parliamentarian and, of course, member of the NNP, the New National Party. That's Mr. Adrian Francis. And certainly we, of course, will be, certainly having a bit of a chit-chat with folks who may have associated him. He has gone to the great beyond. He may have passed on. And we certainly will be talking to a couple of individuals who may have associated with him from time to time. Of course, we will have, of course, Mr. Conrad Francis. He will, of course, pop in and via the telephone have a chit-chat with him this morning. We also going to have, of course, former MP for St. Patrick East, Mr. Clifton Paul, also going to be popping in and having a chat with him about, of course, him. We also going to have, of course, Miss Emmeline Pierre. She'll be popping in, also having a bit of a chit chat. And as we go through, there's also the option for you, listeners and viewers out there. You can give me a call 435-2041 when I do allow you to do so. To, of course, maybe send out your condolences to the family, or maybe you may have had interaction with the individual, and you want to, of course, express how that it meant to you also as we move on through. So we take time as we wait our first individuals who will be having that chat with this morning, and we should be having a call from Mr. Conrad Francis shortly. And as soon as he, of course, pops in, we certainly will entertain him and of course have that chit chat with him and get a feel of those, of course, of his association, of course, with the goodly gentleman. So the number, of course, as we are with that. So once again, good morning to one and all. Welcome to The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV, and so we should be having that call shortly from our first individuals who will be talking about and he's the former coordinator of sports. That's Mr. Conrad Francis. He will be calling in shortly, and we certainly will be having a bit of a chit chat about his association, of course. So that's with Mr. Adrian Mitchell, and certainly going to have that conversation. I think I'm getting that call, so we can probably go over and have that chit chat. I hope I'm having the right individual on the line this morning. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And good morning to Grenada.
Caller, just one sec, please. For specific reason, I'm not entertaining any other call for now, caller, because we are waiting on a specific individual to give us a call in terms of the direction in terms of which our conversation will be going this morning. I did mention that, so when I will open the line for regular calls shortly, and we will do that. I'm waiting a call from that's former coordinator of sports, Mr. Conrad Francis. He should be giving me that call shortly. I certainly hope it was him calling, but someone else popped in with me there for a wee bit. I may go and ask of course, the control room to, of course, if it's already queued up. We had a video message that was sent out to, of course, Adrian Mitchell in the constituency for, of course, that's the former, Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, and he did have a video that, of course, he actually expressed his condolences and spoke about it, the good gentleman. We're probably going to have the control room play that in the interim until we get to make contact with, of course, Mr. Conrad Francis. Of course, we do have that chit chat. So, Master Control, if you do have that video available for me now, you could probably pop it up and let's listen to that for a wee bit until we get the other folks who are associated to give us that call. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 and the GBN TV channel 711 and 20. So, Master Control, over to you. Whenever you have that video ready for us this morning, we certainly can go over and take a view of that, of Dr. Mitchell, and of course, speaking about that. Let's go over to that video message. If it's available, so you can do so.
passing of a very good brother, a community man, a man who served this community. And not many of us can say that in a period of service that we spent our time caring about people.
Leader of Her Majesty's Opposition, Dr. Keith Mitchell, on the passing of former Minister of Youth, Sport and Community.
I guess let's see if we could have that corrected there. But I was actually looking for I was asking getting the news clip from Master Control, but I wanted the actual video of Dr. Mitchell, expressing that his condolences and speaking about, of course, Adrian Mitchell there. So certainly we have that corrected. We could probably bring that up for you. I was still awaiting the call, still not getting the individuals who I would like to calling as yet calling, but soon as they're ready, we will certainly do entertain them once the call is coming. And I think I see that call coming in now, so we probably can go over and entertain him. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm really good, thanks.
All right. Folks, on the line I have former coordinator of sports, that's Mr. Conrad Francis, speaking to him this morning. Welcome once again, sir. Our program this morning, a bit of a slight twist. We are, of course, speaking about, Mr. Adrian Mitchell, former MP, you, former sports minister. And share with us this morning. Just tell us about your experience working with Adrian Mitchell and your views about his contribution to sports in Grenada as a whole.
Yeah, so once again, good morning. Good morning to all listeners to GDN. I think it said I was a former minister, but no, I was former
coordinator of sports. I was saying Mr. Mitchell was the former minister, if I probably messed him up. All right, no problem there, no problem.
My experience working with Minister Adrian Mitchell was a very wonderful experience, very wonderful and rewarding experience. Mr. Mitchell invited me to join the Ministry of Sport in, I think it was 1996, together with Mr. Zita Bruno Victor, and we joined the staff of the Ministry of Sports, and together with Mr. Mitchell, he basically laid the policies, told us exactly what he wanted to do, and we worked on it, and we developed those programs. And I will tell you today that some of the benefits that we are deriving now, that we are having now, is as a result of the programs and plans that was laid down during that time, during Mr. Adrian Mitchell time. I will tell you that one of the first things that Mr. Mitchell said to us when we got to the ministry was that, one, he wanted to develop a program for scholarships for our athletes. Right, he was very, very passionate about that. He wanted our athletes to have that opportunity to gain an education, gain a university degree, and also to develop physically in their sports. And we embarked on that program under his guidance and tutelage. And so we have many athletes during that time went away. I went to junior colleges in the United States. For the first 2 years, the Ministry of Sports and by extension the government paid for these athletes to be at these schools. And we can call a number of names that went through that program, people like Hislan Regis, Joel Phillip, and dozens of athletes went through that program. Another of his hallmark program was won the secondary schools cross-country championships. which we developed, and we call it cross-country championship. So it not only catered for school children, but also adults could have taken part in it. And that was one of the biggest events on the athletic calendar during those days. And it all culminated most of the times in River Sally, and knowing Mr. Mitchell, you always like to organize, cooks and so on. So it was a big festival at the end of that event. So these are two of the major events that Mr. Mitchell spearheaded and guided. I can also talk about many more. I can talk about our school program, the coaches program in the primary schools, right, where coaches went out to the various primary schools throughout the island on different days and did coaching in all of the sports based on the season that we were in, whether it is track and field, football, cricket, basketball. The coaches in the ministry did that. And from that program, I can speak specifically to track and field. We were able to identify talent that went on to win medals at Carifta, dozens of them, and they were identified during that program. I can also speak about the primary school, the placement of physical education teachers at the primary schools. Mr. Mitchell was a mastermind again behind this. So there are numerous things that he did as a minister of sports. He founded and developed many programs that today we are reaping the benefits of it. Right. I would say that, I've never met I would say he was one of the best ministers of sports that I have worked with during my time at the Ministry of Sports. His passion, his knowledge, and also he was an implementer also. He will be there with us during the cross-country meets. He will be there at every track and field meet. As a matter of fact, he was able to identify athletes for us in the various sports meets. He went to every single sports meet in the St. Patrick's area, and he will come back after each sport, bring the programs, bring the results for us, and say, Conrad, Vida, I have a girl for you all. I have a girl for you all, or I have a boy for you all. He was able to identify athletes throughout the length and breadth of Grenada.
All right. So you would say also that he played a pivotal role as a government minister and being a minister of sport in terms of sports development in Grenada.
Well, definitely, as Minister of Sports, he was in charge of all the sports, and I'm speaking here not only as a track and field person, but also sports in general, football. What he did for football, I mean, he had a football club. He was the founder of that football club, right? In basketball, cricket, he showed keen interest in all of the sports because he came from a sporting background. That was his love. Not only sports, but also in the cultural aspect of things, right? Yeah. Because the ministry at the time was Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. So he played a critical role in those three areas and in the development of these three critical areas in our society.
Tell me, as the individual, Adrian Mitchell, from your personal experience, who was that individual? If you can speak about that.
Well, I would say that he was a very humble person. He was a people's person. He was a community-spirited person. He was a friend. He was a father. I would say he was almost the complete gentleman that you can think of. Someone who was very easy to work with, and the passion that he had is what really stood out for me as a person. The passion that he gave to the things that he did.
In your own personal, how would you think, of course, Mr. Mitchell would like to be remembered, if you can speak of that? How do you think he would like to be remembered, knowing that all that you know of him from his passion for sport and everything else? How do you think he would like to be remembered?
Well, I would think that he would like to be remembered as someone who has actually gave his life for the development of sports in our country. I mean, to put it simple, I think that he would be one to be remembered for that. And if I may add here, that we as a athletics association, last year we decided that because of his contribution towards the development of track and field in Grenada, we named one of our meets, developmental meets, after him. We called it the Adrian Mitchell Open Meet, and we are hoping that this will be an annual affair. So we did not wait until he passed, but we recognize the contribution that he has made to track and field in our country, and we decided to name a meet after him. We got his permission to do so, and he was very, very grateful. He was, all praises. He came down to the meet. He was there, and as usual, he stayed from the beginning to the very end. He distributed prizes, right? So this meet will be called, or is called, the Adrian Mitchell Open. The Adrian Mitchell Open, and we hope that we'll be able to do this every year in honor of Spaceman. In fact, we really gave him his flowers before he passed on.
All right, it's great to hear, of course, you speak of him, and of course, I can feel the passion in terms of how highly you hold the individual, and even, of course, in his passing, of course, his memory will certainly stick around with you for a pretty long time. Am I correct about that?
Definitely, he has left an indelible mark on me, and is someone that I really admired and looked up to, and he will be forever etched in my heart.
All right, Mr. President, I want to thank you so much for sharing, of course, your experience this morning of knowing, of course, Mr. Adrian Mitchell and his passing. I don't know if you want to take your time out to publicly express your condolences to his family in general this morning.
Yeah, well, as a federation, Grenada Athletic Association, we did extend condolences to him, but I just want to say this morning that to his family and friends, on a personal note, I want to extend condolences to Mr. Adrian Mitchell and his family and friends, and I'm sure that my colleague, my former boss in the Ministry of Sport, Mrs. Vida Bruno Victor, would on her behalf also, I would want to extend sincere condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Adrian Mitchell, and may his soul rest in eternal peace.
All right. Mr. President, I want to thank you so much for popping in this morning and sharing, of course, information you did in terms of your experience. I want to thank you a lot, and best wishes goes out to you for the rest of the day also. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. That was Mr. Conrad Francis there speaking about, of course, his experience working with Adrian Mitchell, and, of course, he shared his views and also spoke about his contribution to sports in general here in Grenada. And I'm not sure if Master Control do have that video with, of course, the opposition leader sharing, of course, his feelings also via message with that. And if that video is ready, we'll go for that. And when we come back, we'll have a chat with, of course, let's take a call, and let's try this call. I think let's take this call first before we go over to the video.
Yes.
Caller, good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I would like to extend my condolences to the family of late Adrian Spaceman Mitchell. I must say I could speak to the gentleman as we respect the culture. I would normally call him a Spaceman because at my alma mater, which was PBC, he was my house captain, Patricia Shan House. And he really motivated me. And I remember we went along to win in 1972, the first intercall that the school have ever won. And he was part of that intercall team. He was also a good footballer. I mean, I remember he was the last stopper for our house and also the last stopper for PBC, formidable team in the 70s. I would like to say that in the cultural field, he was a real culture man we went to. He in 1994, 1996, he saw the downward trend that traditional mass was taken. And he said to me, Adrian, I said, that time I was the CEO of the then National Carnival the Carnival Development Committee. He said, listen, we have to do something for this traditional mass. I said, Minister, what do you need to do? He said, we talk about it. And he called back and told me, listen, we have a traditional mass competition. I said, where you have it for? He said, well, when Riverside, of course. So we laughed over the whole thing. And we said, okay, right. So he started that traditional mass competition. Yeah?
Yes.
And that is where it started, to bring back traditional mass. And there were many traditional bands in it. There were several bands in it too. So he really re-tamed the traditional mass band. And moving along and things, he motivated other persons. I think there's this guy in Riverside, Lazarus Antoine.
Yes.
He made sure that an associate. He made sure that this guy was, the bands of the outer parishes, came. He wanted the banner year 1997. I mean, thing you never heard of. So he is a man that motivated people, not only in sports but also in the cultural field and everything. And culturally speaking, I would say will go down as one of the better culture minister of Grenada. So I like to pay my respect to him and homage to him and his family. And if there's a calypso done by Elf when Adrian did, I think you have a calypso. I think that'll be a fitting tribute to him.
All right.
Have a nice day. Cheers.
All right. Thank you so much, caller, for your contribution there. And that was a caller expressing his personal, a bit of a personal tribute there also. We should be having another call coming in right about now, and it should be from, of course, let me get my information before. We should be former MP this morning. That's for St. Patrick East, Mr. Clifton Paul. He should be our next caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
Not doing too bad. I'm speaking to Mr. Clifton Paul.
Yes, you are.
Good morning to you, sir. Nice to have you this morning. Mr. Paul, you're not only the successor of Mr. Adrian Mitchell in the constituency, but also a close friend. Tell us about his contribution to St. Patrick's East constituency.
Well, Spaceman contribution to St. Patrick's East and St. Patrick's in general. If we have to talk about that, it will take the whole day. Because
understand.
Spaceman was not just an ordinary person. He was more than that. Spaceman was a patriot, a very human person, a person who was always willing to help, who was always willing to contribute to the development of the community and people and Grenada as a whole. So Spaceman has done tremendously, quite a lot for the people St. Patrick's, specifically the people of St. Patrick's East, and by large Grenada. He has touched and impacted the lives of many, many people in every aspect of their lives, be it culturally, in sports, in education. He has done so much. I remember when Spaceman entered into politics, Spaceman assisted a number of young people in their sporting development. So much so that many of them got sports scholarship through his assistance. I remember also a number of calypsonians and soca artists. He also assisted a number of them. Educationally, many people, young people got assistance from Spaceman, sports scholarship. Individually, like Spaceman was a man, he did not know how to say no to people. Whenever someone came to Spaceman for some form of assistance, like he did not know how to tell them, well, he can't make it or he can't afford, he will go the extra mile, to give some hope or to give that kind of assistance to people up to the time of his death, because, Spaceman was a businessman. And from Cuba for medical assistance, Spaceman started feeling a little better. He started a little business in his place, buying drinks from the breweries and other rum and things like that, and selling to people in the community and wherever. And even though the people who came to Spaceman did not have the money, he gave them the drinks, and he died now with thousands of dollars outside, and to him that's nothing. I remember telling him one day, Spaceman, you are no more a politician, you're not looking for votes. Why are you doing that? And you have your medical bills, you have your doctor bills. You just watch me and smile. So he has impacted the lives of people. He has helped people. And so much so that when he went into politics in the 1990s, the most amount of work that was done by any politician, I stand corrected, but I'm sure I'm correct, that Spaceman is that parliamentary representative, that minister that had done the most work in St. Patrick's East constituency, in River Sally, in Rose Hill, in Hermitage, in Libera, name it, Spaceman's fingerprint can be seen. In fact, in River Sally, that's his hometown. Every single area in River Sally has concrete road. All with crab and mongoose used to run. They have concrete road. River Sally is a unique village now. Concrete road all over River Sally. In Rose Hill, he has done a lot of work in Rose Hill. Concrete roads. I remembered in the early 19, what year it was, 19 whatever. I remember we used to be playing cricket in Rose Hill. And one Sunday morning, when the guys left to go and collect cliff in Pointsfield, a huge chunk of cliff broke off and fell on a young man. And the young man died instantly. In fact, that young man was my wife's nephew. We are close neighbors. And that touched Spaceman on hearing of the incident. And immediately, when I say immediately, Spaceman sent people from the ministry. They dug up that cliff wicket in Rose Hill. They dug up that cliff wicket in Rose Hill and put tough wicket. You see, he doesn't want to experience another death of that nature in St. Patrick's or in Rose Hill or anywhere in St. Patrick. And that is how Rose Hill got that tough wicket. Instantly, Spaceman went to work to remedy that problem. So we have lost a great soldier, a man who has touched the lives and impacted the lives of many people. And as I said, not only in St. Patrick's East, not only in Rose Hill and River Sally, but throughout Grenada. And I guess many people can testify to that. As I said earlier, Calypsonians, soca artists, students, wherever you're from, it doesn't matter which part of Grenada you're from, Spaceman in the Ministry of Youth, sports and culture. They want assistance, they go to him. He will put himself out of the way to assist young people. I can testify to that.
Let me also ask you this. He's understanding you have been a very, very close friend of Mr. Mitchell. And in terms of his illness, there's talk about you on a regular basis, taking him to the beach and so forth after returning to Grenada. Tell us about that.
Well, in 2016, Spaceman developed that problem, and I, being the parliamentary representative at that time, I spoke to a number of people. I spoke to Honorable Emlyn Pear. I spoke to Dr. Modest and the former ambassador, Clarice Charles, because myself and Clarice Charles, we are very close. And I told them of the problem that is happened to Spaceman. And immediately they went to work and managed to get Spaceman to go to Cuba for medical attention. Shortly after, I developed a problem with my lower back. And I too was assisted to go to Cuba to seek some medical attention. So I went to Cuba in August of 2016. And I think Spaceman went a couple of months before me, either in April or May, thereabout. So we were both in Cuba, but we were not in the same hospital. But I remember visiting him in his hospital in Cuba and things like that, and we had some very good conversation and things like that. And later in the year, I think it was the latter part of November or the early part of December, Spaceman came back to Grenada. The medical was not completed. He was supposed to return back to Cuba after at least a couple months. And I came back the following year in February. And that was the 13th of February 2017. So that was just about 2 months after I came back. I came back on Saturday. I went to visit Spaceman this Sunday. And when I went to see Spaceman, Spaceman was on his wheelchair. I said, what happened? He said, but I can't walk and things like that on the other. I said, well, I came in Saturday and I started going on the beach as of this morning. It was the Sunday morning. I said, I normally go on the beach early in the morning. I leave home at 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, would you like to come on the beach? He said, yes. By that time, I'm up already. So the Monday morning, I went to pick up Spaceman. And he had this walker. So he pushed the walker ahead of him and he made a few steps. He put the walker and then I opened the car door, assisted him in getting inside of the vehicle, put the walker in the back of the vehicle and we go down to Battery. So we started doing our little therapy on the sand. Some of the things that they did with me in Cuba, I started doing it with him as well on the sand. And when we have finished, I said, Space, I'm not helping you to get into the water. You have to try and get into the water by yourself. So he started dragging himself on his bottom into the water. And we keep on doing that every day. Every morning I went religiously and pick him up at that hour. And then we started our therapy on the sand, all the little stretches and little exercises and so on. I put him lying on his back and I do all sorts of things with Spaceman. And at a certain time, people just need to stand up and look at us. And after about a month or so, I asked Spaceman, after we're done doing what we're doing on the sand, I asked him to stand. I said, let me see if you could make one step on your own. I said, I won't let you fall. Just rest your hand on my shoulder and make one step. He did that. I said, can I make another one? He tried, he make another one. I said, okay, that's enough. And And then we continued doing this stuff. And every morning I say, make at least 5. The following morning I said, let's see if we could make 10. The following morning I said, let's see if we could make 15. So we were increasing it at an interval of 5 until eventually he made 100 steps. And I always by his side, very close to him. He was sitting on his shoulders. We were being shoulder to shoulder. So in case he off balance, I'm there to grab him. And Spaceman keep on moving and moving and moving until eventually he started walking into the water. All right? So we did that for a couple months. And then one morning, I said, Space, instead of just walking into the water, can you just take a throw? He said, but I don't think I could do that, boy. I said, try, man. Just try it. You know? He stood there, he looked at me, he watched the water, he looked at me and he smiled. And then all of a sudden, I see Spaceman just leaped and he threw into the water. And he started moving both arms and legs underneath the water, you know, swimming and things in the water. I said, what's going on here? And we continued, and eventually I said, what I want you to do now is to see if you could run in the water. Try and see if you could run into the water. He said, I don't think I could do that. I said, you can. I said, try it. He tried, he made a couple steps, and then he went down in the water. He got up again. He tried, he made at least 3 more. I said, okay, that's good enough. And then we continued. You know, months and months and months. Eventually, he got rid of the walker, he got rid of the cane, and he just walked from his house into my vehicle. We go down to Battery, we do our normal thing, and then he went into the water. Sometimes he just walked into the water, he just take a throw, as you normally say. And the most striking thing about me, about this thing, one morning, myself and the other guys who normally be in the water, so we had a group of us, you know, 2 from Tivoli, Mr. Frank Filbert, and ex-police officer and others. So we did what we had to do on the sand as usual, and everybody there looking at me and Spaceman doing our thing. And then Spaceman just got up and he started jogging. So every one of us sitting on the sand there started looking at one another with our mouth open. And they asking me, Pablo, what have you done? What you do? What miracle is that? I said, it's not me, it's Spaceman, the water, and God. Spaceman has his mind. And Spaceman jogged down the beach and jogged and came back up. And that was it. Right. Spaceman was back on his feet again. I used to take Spaceman to all the little sports meetings in the parish, the primary school sports, the secondary school sports. We go to intercall. Whenever there's cricket in the stadium, I used to carry Spaceman with me. You know, so I tried to give him back what he had lost for the past time, you know. And Spaceman became himself. And everybody was they started calling me Dr. Pablo. I bring back a man to life. I don't know if I brought back Spaceman to life. I was just doing something to help.
All right. Let me also ask you this, because I know you said this. You said to me on the intro. No, you can speak for the entire day about, of course, your association, of course, with Mr. Mitchell. Tell me, how do you think Mr. Adrian Mitchell would like to be remembered?
Well, Mr. Mitchell will be like to be remembered as a humanitarian person, a person with strong will, a person with strong mind, a person who cares for people, and a person who is always willing to help selflessly. I think he wants to be remembered as that kind of person, because that's the kind of person he was. He was a person of strong will and determination, a selfless person who is always willing to help. It doesn't matter what the situation, you know. person who cares for people. I think you like to remember that kind of person. And I think it taught us a lesson that we must love and we must care for people. And that's the kind of person Spaceman was.
Right.
And on the passing of Spaceman, everybody was in sorrow. Because from that Sunday afternoon when I got that call, my phone never went to rest. Everybody was calling me and telling me, all sorts of things about Spaceman. How can we lose such a person? He has done so much for people. He has done so much for St. Patrick's. He has done so much for Grenada, and that is a great loss. And I think that is a legacy that he has left behind. And he wants to be remembered as that kind of person, that kind of selfless person. That person is always willing to help people. And that person who is becoming strong-willed and has a strong mind. He had a strong mind.
All right.
Very, very strong.
Mr. Paul, I would like to thank you so much for sharing, of course, all the great stories that you did this morning about Mr. Adrian Mitchell. Suddenly, of course, I could feel the passion in terms of how you speak also. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well,
have yourself a great day, sir.
Again, talking about Spaceman this morning, you brought some tears in my eyes. The tears is running down my face. And it's so sad to see him go.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you also, sir. Have a great day yourself, and then take it easy. Folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we do have a message from Dr. Mitchell speaking also. We come back. When we do come back from the break, we take that message. If time permits, we also have a chit-chat with, of course, Rosamund Pierre. She will also speak to us about her experience, of course, working with Adrian Mitchell, and, of course, in his views and his contribution towards youth development when we come back. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back after the short break.
Wow, it's Instacash Grenada. Imagine a game with no numbers to choose from, no draws to wait on, and you can play it every day, including Sunday. That's Instacash. It's fast, it's easy to play, and you win prizes instantly. Instacash. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making dreams come true.
I want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it. Eliminate violence.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's to the point for today, Tuesday, the 14th of November. It's usually on a Tuesdays we do entertain, of course, various representatives of the new national party, the opposition here in Grenada. We're doing a pretty special program this morning on the request of the new national party. We, of course, speaking about having a bit of conversation this morning on the memory of Mr. Adrian Mitchell. Let's go over to the phone now. Online now, we do have, of course, MP, Emmeline Pierre with us this morning. Let's go over to her and say good morning. Good morning to you, MP Pierre. Good morning. How are you? Hello. Good morning. I'm not sure if we may have lost her there for some reason. I'm not sure what happened, but we did have her online, but we lost her there a wee bit. Let's go over to Master Control until we were able to get back Miss Pierre back on the line so she could have that conversation on this once again. I'm seeing the call coming in. Let's hope it's her, and we can entertain that conversation. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Miss Pierre. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, good morning to you, and I'm doing fine. Good morning to all your listeners.
We had a bit of a disconnection there for some reason. Welcome. Our conversation this morning is of course, to speak about, of course, the life of Mr. Adrian P.A. You, of course, I would like you to tell us your experience. So now we are a bit due for time, but tell us about your experience working with Mr. Adrian Mitchell and your views of course, his contribution, especially when it comes to youth development, if you can. Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much. And let me first of all extend condolences to his family, immediate family and friends, and all those who are mourning and grieving over his loss. All of those persons who have worked so closely with him over the years, Mrs. Vida Bruno Victor and Conrad Francis, and all of those persons, including the constituency level, community level, my condolences as well to you. I want to say that Mr. Mitchell, former Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture, Adrian Mitchell, is somebody I've always respected and will continue to respect. It's very difficult speaking after Mr. Clifford Powell, which was so emotional and so touching, but indeed I believe that is the kind of impact that this man has had on the lives of people. But I want to speak about him and remember him this morning as a visionary leader. I consider him to have been a visionary leader. Similar to the experience that Conrad had, and listening to him, not just now, and people like Vida Bruno and others over the years, I believe that Spaceman had a vision. And any leader who has a vision wants to build a team to accomplish his vision. And as Conrad would have explained, as former PS Vida Bruno and many others explain how we recruited them, I had a similar experience after speaking at a function of the Leo Club of St. Andrew. Never met the man, never knew him. And he came up to me after the function and he said, we need somebody like you in the Ministry of Youth. Where do you work? I was under the Ministry of Education at that time, and Mrs. Vida Bruno Victor confirmed it after that he went to her and he said, we need to speak to Ministry of Education and request a transfer for this lady to the Ministry of Youth. That is how I ended up in the Ministry of Youth. I remember him very clearly in the presence of Mrs. Victor saying that we are assigning you to programming in the ministry because we want to see, he didn't call it that, but I believe what he had as his vision at the time, a paradigm shift as it relates to youth development. I know at the time he probably was accused of having more attention given to sports. Sports was his soul, his passion, his life, sports and community development, I must admit. And so I believe he wanted a paradigm shift in the area of youth. He wanted to do more. He wanted to venture out in that particular area. And I remember him clearly saying that morning, whatever support the Ministry of Youth need, just let me know. Just speak to the PS and we would make sure it happens. Around that time, I remember very vividly, the budget for Ministry of Youth was about $15,000. And the main program at the time, and this was around about 2003, thereabouts, the main program at the time was a summer program. And he said to me, I'm not happy that this program is centered in the Grandlands area, targeting a particular group of persons. At that time, most people who came to bring their children to the summer program, they drove there, dropped them off and went to work. And he said, this program must go to all communities around Grenada. I felt his passion. And we led the team towards working on that particular national project, bringing summer programming to communities so that ordinary people can benefit. I never forget the morning. He called me about 5:30 in the morning. This was the storm surge. So this was going to be our first major national program because, as I told you, what the programming at the time was. And he called me about 5:30. I was just getting out of bed, and he said, I have some bad news. The program was supposed to be launched that same morning. He said, I got a message from the Prime Minister, and I have to convey to you, because of the storm surge, we definitely would have to put this program on hold. I know the efforts that went into it. I know the amount of people that were involved and so on, but you have to find a way to explain to them the damage that was done. We cannot proceed with that program. And I could have sensed how defeated he felt, how down he felt, because that is how he got involved in whatever was happening, as Conrad would have said. He didn't just give instructions, he got involved in a very passionate way. I saw under his leadership, and I'm very, very happy to have been part of the process, that shift happening in terms of moving youth development to another level. I remember going to Guyana on an internship with the Commonwealth Youth Program because he bought into youth and enterprise, and that is where it started. I was sent to Guyana to do a program there looking at the transformation of youth through youth enterprise, small business. And that is how that program started, where he engaged the Grenada Development Bank, and he got the government to invest some monies in the Grenada Development Bank so that it could facilitate the lending of monies to young people to start their small business. The introduction of the National Youth Parliament and so many other national youth programs, as I said, I saw that budget and listen, you had to be able to convince your cabinet of that paradigm shift. And obviously he was able to do that, because to get your budget moving from $15,000 to $15 million and rising, you must have had to sell your vision to the cabinet, and he must have done an excellent job at that, because there was, as a matter of fact, under his leadership, for the very first time, I remember a budget presented and the government indicating that youth development was the center of that budget. That was an indication of the kind of paradigm shift that he led as the minister, to get the government to buy into a shift in the development of youth in terms of its programming and how he was actually going to facilitate and lead that. And I just want to say the whole support for the National Youth Council, and as someone said before, he was so involved in community development, so his support for the building of youth structure throughout the island, the support for youth organization, the engagement of youth at the community and the national level, and particularly I want to mention youth representation. I remember when Mr. Mitchell came to me and we need to take this to another level. We need to have a youth representing young people in Parliament. At the time, I was only, about 27, 26, going 27. And he said, I think you're an ideal person to do that. And I said to him, well, how do I do that with all that I'm doing here? And he said, no, we have to take this to the next level. So he had a vision. I believe he knew what he wanted to see. And it was not just about young people as a token, but young people being part of the process at all levels of national development. And I really admire his passion and his vision as it relates to that. As a matter of fact, Mr. Mitchell was the one who introduced me to politics. I did my job, never thought about party politics, never. Until he came to me and I said to him, I don't think I want to go that route. And he said, I already arranged a meeting with the Prime Minister to speak to you, right? And I'm saying all of this to say this man had a vision. He knew what he wanted, not just in the area of sports and community development and culture, but he also knew what he wanted as it relates to youth development. And his passion, his commitment, his sacrifice is unmatched. a humble person from humble beginnings. Of course, communities and organization groups, Hard Rock, and all of those community groups and people that he has been involved in, that has been his life. And I think this is someone that Grenada has lost, that has made a valuable contribution to national development.
All right, thank you so much. I mean, I could certainly feel your passion, and of course, in terms of how you spoke this morning about Mr. Anya, of course, you're being part, of course, in terms of him getting you started in your career as a politician. Thank you so much. We drew for time, Ms. Pierre, and I want to thank you so much. We're going to take another couple of minutes and show that video with a message from Dr. Mitchell. So, Ms. Pierre, I want to thank you so much and have yourself a great day.
Thank you, and good morning again to all your listeners.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we, of course, was just speaking there to, of course, Honorable Emily Pierre and MP Emily Pierre. Let's, of course, go over to Master Control, and, of course, we've been trying to get that video up and running for a wee bit, and I think we got it this time, and that's going to take care of our program for today. So let's go over to Master Control for a wee bit.
We've learned this afternoon of the passing of our special brother, Adrian Mitchell, who, of course, is a former Minister of Government and former Parliamentary representative of St. Patrick East. And, of course, we feel we have had a great loss in Adrian because of his service to the New National Party, but more specifically to the service of the people of St. Patrick East. Because I think it's well known Adrian was a person that was involved in community life, sports, culture, and of course, all levels of community activities. And even when he was abroad in New York, continued to participate in community activities. So Adrian has a rich history of community activities and helping people. And therefore, we consider that his passing is certainly a one that we all will mourn. I of course, as someone that has been close to him, Adrian is somebody I knew way back in the 70s and teaching at Presentation College. I taught Adrian, and I was a very bright, smart person in physics and mathematics. So I knew him. Is his talent as a person, his academic excellence over the years. So Adrian has done well for himself and for his community in many sense. And therefore, when we wanted a candidate in the 90s to run for the St. Patrick's East constituency, and he was home, and we certainly made contact, and Adrian accepted responsibility. And it's because of his victory in St. Patrick East that the New National Party won that election in 1995. And of course, he served the country and served as a Minister of Sports. In fact, he acted as Prime Minister on many occasions during that particular period up to 1999 when he won all the seats in Parliament. So a few weeks ago, I visited him a few weeks ago, and of course, we sat and spoke quite a bit, of course, and of course, he shared a number of stories. And I realized the fact that he was sharing those stories meant to me that he recognized that things were not as good as he should be physically. And therefore, when I left him, I really realized that he was giving me a message. And 2 weeks ago, called me specifically and asked me a specific question. I would not repeat the question, but really he was saying to me that he doesn't think that he will be there much longer. And I remember after I answered that call and started and thought about it, I realized Adrian was giving me a specific message. So today we mourn the passing of a very good brother, a community man, a man who served this community. And many of us can say that in our period of service that we spent our time caring about people, loving people, helping people, and not thinking of ourselves. In fact, I think one of Adrian's biggest weakness that he did not think enough about himself. He was more concerned about his community and the people that he served. And I hope and pray that a lot of us will take a message from Adrian's life because of life of service and, of course, community support in a general sense. So we in the NNP and the family of the NNP would have lost a very good brother and a very good comrade indeed. And therefore we wish him on his journey to his Savior and, of course, and his journey to his rest, his permanent rest, and we really wish that he rests in peace. That's what I really want to say at this particular time.
Hey folks, that's what we take a wrap for today's program of To The Point. Just extended the time there just a bit so we could have brought that message across to you. Join us again for another edition of To The Point here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. All the best, folks. Have yourself a great day. That's why I say goodbye.